Hey y'all, I'm James Wright. Welcome to my shop, and today we're making a shelf with, it's actually two, but it's one, but let's build it. Let's start off this build with a chunk of red oak. I bought this board years ago and moved it to the new house and just never had a place to use it. And this is a great one. It is about 8 inches wide by about 8 foot long and 3/4. And I'm going to cut this down into 4 even pieces. 2 long ones for the 2 shelves and 2 short ones that will space the shelves out. And it's going to be a really simple design, having dovetails on either end holding the top to the bottom via the verticals. And so I'm just going to play down how far apart do I want these shelves to be. That's how long the 2 end pieces need to be. And whatever's left over, that's how long the shelves are going to be. It ended up being a little over 3 foot long and about 10 inches apart from the shelves. So we're going to roughly cut these down to size. And then we can take them over and shoot them, because it's very important that all of these be really nice and true and square, especially when you're making any dovetail joint, any connection at 90 degrees. You want to make sure you have a really good end on there so that they all match up. I also want to make sure that they're all exactly the same length. And so I can put one board on top of the other once it has been shot and trued, and then I can exactly mark out how wide the other one is. But in this case, I cut these 2 ahead of time, and I thought they were the same length, and then they weren't. Apparently I laid something out way wrong, and afterwards realized, oops. So yeah, we're cutting the other one down to the length it's supposed to be, and then that meant that one of the 2 shelves was longer than it needed to be, and so the shelf actually ended up being a little bit shorter. So, oh well. The nice thing about this is there isn't any specific size that it has to be. I just want to get it something about that size. And then we want to actually start marking them out. I'm going to clamp these together because I want to cut the tails together. And then we want to actually make sure everything is marked out so that every board has connection. And this one's pretty simple. I'm going to put the tape on the front edge, and I'm going to mark bottom, top, left, and right. And then we can go from there. On these 2, I'm going to be putting in the tails, and so I'm going to mark all the way around them with the thickness of the other board, and this will be the depth that the tails come down. And then we can start laying out. Now, one of the things I have not been able to find yet is my dividers. I have no idea where my dividers went, and I really need to find those here soon because I'm going to be teaching a dovetail class here soon. So either that or I'm going to have to go buy a new pair of dividers. Not a huge thing, but I can pull out my my calipers and use them the exact same. I want to lay out where the tails will be and then deepen those in, mark them straight across. Then I'm going to come with a dovetail saw and put a light mark on the top just to house the teeth and get a good start for the saw. On this one, I decided to use the Cat's Moses dovetail jig. I like using this anytime I just want to cut dovetails quickly and I don't really care about them that much. A lot of times I like to freehand them and just make them eyeball nice, but the Cat's Moses dovetail jig just makes it so simple and easy, and I use it quite a bit if I actually want to make them really pretty. In this case, I decided to come back through and cut out the waist, but on the next one I ran into a problem. It was going really close to the line, so I wanted to back up and pull out, and I put a little bit of force on it, and then the blade went ping. Oops. Yeah, it was just off camera. So yeah, no coping out the next one here. So we're switching over to cutting out with the chisel, which I generally prefer the chisel. I was actually in a bit of a hurry to get this video done. So I brought out the coping saw, and that's usually the only reason I bring it out is when I want to speed things up a little bit. Most of the time I prefer chopping out because you just stay a little ways away from the line and you chop in and then pare it back and then chop in and pare it back until you're really close, and then you remove it all the way. Now we want to trace the tails onto the pin board, and so I can use my knife to make sure that it is square to the face and the edge, and then we can transfer them out. You can see my block plane on the other side spaced up to the same height as the pin board, and that makes it far easier just to put it in there and hold it down, and it's very, very easy to transfer the marks. Once that's done, we can do the same thing we did before, and I'm just going to put a saw curve straight across exactly where I want it to be, and then we can cut down. The nice thing with the Cat's Moses jig is you can rotate it, and now it's set up to cut the pins, and it does it really, really well. I like how this came out. Now, one of the weird things on this one is I'm actually going to be doing this with half tails. Usually you have half pins to end the board, so I'm cutting off the excess on the pin side, which is just kind of weird. But I like the look of it personally. Structurally, if you make it one way or the other, technically, theoretically, having a half tail is having a half pin is stronger than a half tail. But in practice and reality, it really doesn't make any difference. So do what pleases you. And in this case, it pleased me to go with the half tails on the end. And then removing the waste in between the pins is the exact same as removing the waste in between the tails. We're going to chop in and pair out, chop in and pair out, flip the board over, do it the other side until they meet in the middle, and then Pamo, we got a piece that came out. And I don't know why. I really enjoy this. Anytime I get to chop out large pieces, it is very enjoyable. And that's the whole reason I'm in the shop, is to have these fun times. And I really enjoy these. Come in with a square and make sure that your shoulders inside on both the tails and pins are square and flat. This way you get a nice 90-degree transition as they come together. I like to come in with a fine file and do a little bit of detailing. And happy day! These ones actually came in right off of the saw. Little bit on the tight side, but not bad. I was very, very pleased with how they came together. Sometimes they come out really, really tight, and I need to come in and remove a little bit more. Most of the time I just do it with a file, but practice makes perfect. Actually, practice makes permanent, but eventually you'll come out to it. Next, we can move on to the glue up, and for this I'm going to be using some Total Boat High Performance Epoxy. I have been using epoxy more and more as my adhesive, and it's so easy to use. And the glue up time on it is phenomenal. So I can dial this in to be a very fast set or a very slow set depending upon the hardener I use. And it's great for when I'm working in the shop and I can have the kids walk in and be like, hey, Daddy, look at this. And I can take a second and wait. Whereas if I'm working with PVA, it's no, get this done, get this done, get this done, because we need to get it glued up. And it makes it very, very nice because you can put the whole piece in, you can move them around, and then you can get to clamping. And I've just been using epoxy more and more and more. And it's kind of become my go-to glue now. So after everything has been cured, comes out of the clamp, then we can actually start doing the finishing on this. I'll come in with a plane and shoot in from the end to clean off any of the end grain on the tails or pins, and then the card scraper and give it a really nice, clean, smooth surface. I am going to hit this with a little bit of sandpaper. I'm not doing it to sand it or smooth it, but just to kind of fill the pores with dust. And I found that the really high grit sandpaper, something like 300 grit, actually puts fine dust into the pores, and that actually soaks the finish in a little bit deeper. I am going to chamfer the edges. For the outside, I can use the Reed Plains chamfer sled, and it gets it really nice and accurate all the way around. But for the inside, I can't do that. And the nice thing about having this rabbiting block plane is I can start at the corner and work in from that. I didn't think I would use this quite as much, but I actually do, and I've been grabbing it more and more. Which was odd. When I first got it, I was using my standard block plane, and now I've grabbed them rabbiting more and more as well. I realized about halfway through chamfering I'd never actually smoothed off the front face, so I needed to come back and do that and then clean up the chamfer a little bit more, and then I can come in and do the inside chamfer. Here you can see how the rabbiting block plane allows you to plunge in at the corner, and you can actually clean up the inside joint really quickly and easily and get a nice chamfer on an inside joint. I like it. And I don't know, it's little things like this that just absolutely please me when you get that nice edge on there. Here I'm going to be using this high grit sandpaper. I'm just brushing it down, quick sweep over each side. That's all you really need to get a little bit of dust in there and allow the finish to soak in a little bit deeper. Gives it a little bit more adherence, and especially on oak where you want to see that difference between the grain, it allows that grain to pop in the deeper you can come in. And then I can chamfer the outside corners, but those you want to be a little careful. Sometimes you want to skew the plane to the direction of the grain so it doesn't come out. And I'm going to be using boiled linseed oil, but this time I'm actually trying a different boiled linseed oil because I ran out of my homemade stuff. So I'm trying this one, which is to be unnamed. I'm not a fan of it. It's thicker, and this one actually has an additive in there to be a little more protective, and it wasn't as much fun, and I was really wanting my homemade boiled linseed oil. But I'm going to be trying several other oils and mixes over the next few months and playing with different things. The look on it was great. Really nice finish. It was a little bit more lustery and shiny than I normally like, but it really brought out the oil look that I was looking for. It was just a little bit too thick, a little bit too glossy for my likes. But everyone's a little bit different. This one, though, it actually goes on really well. It works much the same. It's just a little bit thicker. I'm going to be trying a few tongue oils and playing with some of those. I've played with quite a few of them over the years, but I actually want to settle on something that I can use regularly. Then for hanging on the wall, we need to find out where are the studs, how's it going to fit, where am I actually going to space it in here. And so I found the studs with magnets. It's my preferred go-to way. The stud sensors I've always found to be a little bit finicky, whereas with the magnet, you can hold onto it and spin it around on the floor floor until it catches. And once you have one, then you know there's going to be another one about 16 inches away. And so I can space them out on here. Magnets get me exact places. And then I can put a line on here with the level and come in with brackets. And those brackets are going to be inside the shelf so that the things in the shelf kind of hide them. I was thinking about putting pins through the side panels and into it, but I kind of like the little brackets being in there. And they go in very simple and makes things a lot easier. The brackets lock onto the wall, and the shelf just slides on the brackets and hangs on there. If I want to, I can put a screw up through the bracket and into the shelf there, and just like that, it slides in. And I really kind of like this. It's a simple shelf design and works out really well. It's a little bit different, a little bit funky. And of course, I got to hang my pickle up so we can put that on the wall, have a spot to hang it, run the cable behind, and then we can load the shelf with all of my carving tools. It'll be chisels, hook knives, things like that, and just makes me happy. And I really like how this came out. I'm just, yeah, happy.
So there you have it. This is an interesting space in the tool wall, and if you've been watching me build the shop, I wanted to have a spot where I could put all my carving tools, because before they were all the way on the other end of the shop, and I wanted to have them more accessible, so I use them more. And this is set up so I can have most of my simple rolls actually down here on this shelf, but then I can have this roll, and I can either roll it up, or I can have it unrolled and have it sit right here and have all my tools ready for me to use. So this is kind of a fun idea, and I wanted to have more tools within reach of the bench. And that's one of the whole reasons for the tool wall, is to have everything accessible so I can just turn around and grab the tool I need and get back to work. It makes it surprisingly efficient, and the easier you make things happen, the better the chance that you're actually going to use them. So I'm liking this. And I like the simple design of not having brackets and having two shelves held together with dovetails. It's kind of a fun little thing. So I hope you like this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. If there's something you'd like to see me different, please let me know down below. And I do like seeing that, because I read through all of them and I answer as many of the comments as I can, and it helps this channel out. Anytime you comment down below, or join those people who put comment down below, or some people even just put CBD. I first thought they were putting a drug there, but no, it's comment down below. So thank you. It does help out the channel. But if you want to go even farther, there are a bunch of names over there. Those are some of the fantastic, wonderful, benevolent, gorgeous people over on Patreon. And some of them are actually watching right now, because we're doing a behind the scenes video. So if you'd like to help out with that and get some of the extra perks, then think about becoming a patron on Patreon. Huge thank you to all you, and I think that'll do it for now. Until next time, have a wonderful day. So I was thinking about doing the joke of, oh, we're done with this project, we can finally shelve it. But honestly, I'm going to do one it's kind of an inside joke. But this tool roll, that's called a ponder.